to take you home. Water, 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 I'm coming to take you home. Take you home.
Draw up the water. Draw up the water from the well. Oh, sister, draw up the water. Draw up the water from the well. Draw up the water. Draw up the water from the well. Oh, sister, draw up the water. Draw up the water from the well.
Draw up the water. Draw up the water from the well. Oh, sister, draw up the water. Draw up the water from the well. Taste the water cool on your tongue. Taste the water cool on your tongue. Draw up the water from the well. Draw up the water. Draw up the water from the well. Oh, sister, draw up the water from the well.
Drink deep, my sister. Drink deep, my sister.
Drink deep, there's water in the well. Draw up the water. Draw up the water from the well. Oh, sister, draw up the water from the well.
I am the water. I am the water.
My sister,
I am the water.
water,
I am the water from the
water from the well.
Draw up the water from the well. Oh, sister, draw up the water. I am the water from the well.
Good morning. Please join me in another round of applause for our exceptional students from the Moore's Concert Chorale and their rendition of Draw Up the Water from the Well. The chorale will be back for our enjoyment at the conclusion of the President's address with a tune you will all recognize. And I would like to remind everyone that you all are invited to a reception immediately after the conclusion of the program. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it is a joy and a privilege to welcome all of you to the President's Fall Address. My name is Kathy Horn, and I have the distinct honor of serving as the Faculty Senate President. Today, in her 10th year as President, Dr. Khator will deliver her 9th Fall Address. I imagine her remarks will reflect on the many accomplishments of this past year and the good and hard work that is ahead of us as an institution in the year upcoming. With this opportunity to introduce her, I think it's important to pause just a moment to also recognize her accomplishments, this university's accomplishments over the last decade. In an interview early in her tenure, President Khator noted that she always told her daughters, "Don't ask life to be easy, ask it to be rewarding." Expecting no less of her UH family, she has pushed us individually and collectively over the last decade to every day dream bigger, work smarter, and dare to achieve what we didn't think was possible. Through her leadership, President Khator has catalyzed the strengths of this University of Houston. Her vision, direction, and stewardship of talent have both enhanced the academic experiences of and outcomes for our students and created wide open spaces for the generation of new knowledge. President Khator has also challenged us to keep our responsibilities as Houston's university at the core of all that we do. Edison Oberholzer, president of the University of Houston from 1927 to 1950, wrote, "There is a splendid future for every man and woman in the development of this great metropolis of the South, and Houston wants the university to grow and to share in this grand undertaking, building not only a fine city industrially and professionally, but a city noted for its outstanding citizenship and its emphasis on the cultural aspects of life." 90 years later, President Khator has brought this vision to life. On behalf of all of our students, my fellow faculty, and our staff, please join me in thanking her for making the University of Houston a place where the needs and aspirations of our students come first, a place where we push intellectual boundaries, a place where diversity enriches our university and is a driving force instrumental to our institutional success, and a place where we have the power to build the world-class university that Houston demands and that Houston deserves. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Renu Khator.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Horn, and thank you, our wonderful concert chorale from the Morse School of Music, under the direction of Dr. Betsy Cook-Weber. How about another big hand for the performance this morning? You probably notice an open orchestra pit here, and that's because this is Morse Opera House. This is a place of learning for students. And day after tomorrow, the opera performance begins, and I said, I will do my best not to fall in the pit, but let's leave it open, so that's why we have it here. Well, let me also thank you all for being here today for the 9th annual Fall Address. It was exactly 10 years ago to this week that the Board of Regents of the University of Houston announced me as the sole finalist for the position of Chancellor and President. Since that day, I have gotten up every morning and have gone to bed every night, being a cougar, wearing red, and thinking about the University of Houston. Let me begin by recognizing the Regents whose decision in 2007 brought me to Houston and changed my life, and who are in attendance today. Former Regent and Board Chair Leroy Hermes. Former Regent and Board Chair, welcome W. Wilson Sr. Former Regent and Board Vice Chair, Calvin Stevens, all the way from Dallas. Former Regent and Board Vice Chair, Jim Wise. And I know our former Regent and Board Secretary, Dennis Golden, was to arrive here, has not arrived, and I also know that Lyndon Rose is stuck in the Bahamas, so maybe I'll go visit him over there after the address. Thank you again so much, and thank you. And now I'd like to recognize our current regents whose vision, support, and dedication continue to guide us. The Honorable Welcome W. Wilson Jr., Board Vice Chairman. The Honorable Roger Welder. The Honorable Durga Agrawal. The Honorable Paula Mendoza. The Honorable Peter Taft. The Honorable Beth Madison. The Honorable Gerald McKelvey. And our student regent, the Honorable Neil Mutiala. The University of Houston stands on the shoulders of giants, and therefore let me ask all our former regents, many of whom are in attendance today, to please stand and take our thanks. Also present among us are the presidents of our 3 UH system universities. Please welcome President Victor Morgan from UH Victoria, President Juan Sanchez Munoz from UH Downtown, President Ira Blake from UH Clear Lake. Please also welcome the chair of the University of Houston Board of Visitors and 4-time UH alumna, Ms. Cheryl Crusoe. Would you please stand? Since we, you and I together, stand at the 10-year milepost, it is appropriate to review the performance of the past decade. I am sure you have heard people locally and nationally describe the University of Houston either as a transformed university or a university under major transformation. Rarely a day goes by when someone does not express his or her astonishment at the magnitude of this transformation. And if he or she has not been on campus in a few years, the words typically are, "I can't believe my eyes." So what is this transformation? Can it be captured in words or images? And what does this past transformation mean for our future? My presentation today is an attempt to answer these questions with the utmost humility and with the knowledge that no one person, no one group, and no one effort ever brings organizational transformation. It is always a collective effort, and it has been so here, where you and I, and each one of us, regardless of what role we play, have been equal partners in giving our best and moving the needle. The story of the past 10 years is the story of our progress, our success, and our determination. As always, let's begin with the student success and access, which has been the priority of our Board of Regents and the Texas Legislature. We are now a campus of 45,364 students, growing on an average 3.1% each year during the past decade. In the previous 3 decades, or since 1977, the average growth was less than 0.5% per year. With the increased enrollment, the number of degrees granted each year has also gone up, and to our gratification, at a much faster pace. During this decade, we helped 87,781 students realize their dream of obtaining a college degree from the University of Houston. And we are proud to say a considerable number of them were the first ones in their family to attend college and often came from underprivileged and low-income backgrounds. You raised the bar for them, and now with their own success in their hands, they are raising the bar for others in their family and community. And by doing so, they are transplanting the dream of college education to many young hearts. We have expanded our reach in Houston by doubling our offerings in Sugar Land, building a new teaching center in Katy, and finally, dramatically increasing our online presence. Today, nearly 1/4 of all of our credit hours are generated either online or in majority online courses. Of course, our best story remains the story of 4, 5, and 6-year graduation rates that have risen steadily each year. And I am certain that they'll continue to rise even faster in the future. This year's 5-year graduation rate is higher than last year's 6 years graduation rate, so you can see the speed of increase. My advice to you is, don't tell any freshman that UH is a school for part-timers, because the puzzled look you get from them may make you feel as if you're coming from outer space. Nearly all freshmen are full-time students taking 24 credit hours per year, and three-fourths of them are taking 30 credit hours, allowing them to graduate in 4 years. Early graduation is not just good for the graduates, it's also good for the economy and the taxpayers. Our research shows that those recent additional graduates are adding $44 million just in their salary differential to the state's economy each year. And faster graduation means a more efficient use of taxpayers' money going to higher education. The U.S. Department of Education's latest scorecard shows that we beat the national average in boosting the social mobility of our students. The average cost of attendance of $13,000 at the University of Houston is much lower than $19,000, the average cost of attendance nationally. Similarly, the average debt of $19,700 carried by our students is much lower than the national average of $24,200. And most important, on average, UH students earn nearly $50,000 during the early career years. This is much higher than the nationwide average of $41,500. The University of Houston is proud to serve Houston and Texas, but given our global recognition, it is no surprise that in recent years we have been an education destination for students from more than 150 countries. The University of Houston campus continues to be in a state of constant transformation, and we are not done yet. Here are 3 of our features added just this year. The largest dining hall, the Moody Towers Dining Commons, is now open 24/7, serving freshly cooked pizza at 2 a.m. or pasta at 4. And if you want to grab an apple before your class and then have a full breakfast after your class, we understand. You have the option of unlimited meals, so feel free to visit the dining hall 10 times a day if you want to. Although, a workout at the campus wellness and recreation center might be a good idea after that. Whether you commute to campus or live on campus, a car is no longer required. The University of Houston is offering a free Metro card to anyone living inside the loop, thanks to our partnership with Metro. For anybody living outside of the loop, it's at 75% discount. Finally, our freshman advisors are now equipped with a tool that allows them to receive signals, red, yellow, or green, depending on a student's progress toward a degree or lack thereof. So, there's no point missing in classes, or failing in coursework, or enrolling in a wrong course, because your advisor will find you and get you back on track. The bottom line is that we are using our expertise in data analytics to help our students achieve success. Whether by improving student services or by offering new advising tools, our goal is one and the same. We want our students to succeed. Similar to student success, the decade-long progress in the area of research and scholarship has been noticeable. Research expenditures show a doubling trend during the past decade from $76 million to $142 million a year. Hundreds of grants make up this number, but some researchers have been leaders in receiving grant funding. Our top 10 researchers have brought in just under $164 million to the University of Houston in the past decade. May I ask our grant leaders to please stand if they are in audience. Thank you very much. And you did notice 2 women there, right? Hundreds of grants make up this number, and we're very proud of your accomplishments. Not all our research activities reflected in sponsored research. Publications in refereed journals is a significant measure, which has also nearly doubled. I would be remiss if I did not recognize the work of Zachary Turpin, who, as a graduate student in English department, discovered a long-forgotten novel written by 19th century author Walt Whitman. Zachary is now an assistant professor at the University of Idaho, but his discovery made national news everywhere and world news. So let's just give a hand to Zachary so he can hear it all the way in Idaho. As impressive as our research is, the real differentiator for us is the licensing revenue, which has gone up in the past decade from $1.2 million to $28.3 million per year. No, it's not an error. The previous decade's circle is so small in comparison that it's practically invisible. Our researchers collaborate with researchers from all over Houston, but also all over the world. In last 5 years, 487 articles were published by University of Houston researchers with scholars from Baylor College of Medicine, 350 with MD Anderson Cancer Center, 276 with UT Health Science Center, and 232 with Rice University. They also collaborated in hundreds of projects with professors from other Texas universities, including UT Austin and Texas A&M, as well as with many across the nation and the globe. A total of 118 countries were our collaborating partners. Problems do not know sovereign borders, neither do they know disciplinary boundaries. Our scholars know and honor this very fundamental truth. Our faculty all across, in all disciplines, are stronger and come with national visibility. Thanks to our deans and faculty, we successfully added 19 members of the National Academies of Engineering and Sciences to our roster in the past decade. With the expanding research and higher student success, we have tripled the number of nationally ranked programs. During this time, 64 new degree programs were also launched to ensure that our students have the latest cutting edge and most relevant skill sets. To do what we wanted to do required space, good quality, functional space. Therefore, we invested $1.2 billion in facilities during the last decade. This is $1 billion more than the total investment dollars spent in the previous decade. If I add the projects already committed for and in the design phase, this number will jump to $1.46 billion. We have built academic spaces like classrooms, teaching labs, research labs, and academic offices, but we have also doubled campus housing and added parking garages, student service areas, athletic facilities, and infrastructure support like power plants. This year, we are celebrating the grand opening of 3 major projects: the Multidisciplinary Research and Engineering Building, the Health and Biomedical Building 2, and the Indoor Football Practice Facility. 3 major projects are currently under construction: the Fertitta Center renovation, a major renovation, the Academic Building in Sugar Land, and the Quadrangle Housing Project, which will have 1,200 beds, including an international hall with 200 beds. The $100 million renovation of 6 core buildings will transform the core of the campus very soon, where a vast majority of students take their very first class. We are also initiating a $160 million life sciences project to enhance and expand our life sciences footprint on campus. This will include repurposing our building in the Texas Medical Center, renovating Science and Research 2, repurposing the Student Health Center, and $80 million of new construction in the Health District. I know what you're thinking. And what about that parking on campus? Indeed, another parking garage is underway in the Arts District to reduce the stress on parking. On parking, just because I'm a numbers person, let's look at something. On parking, it's interesting to note that while the enrollment has grown by 31%, parking spaces on campus have grown by 33%. And if we consider that 23% of all credit hours are now taken online, the parking situation should be better, not worse, than a decade ago. Unless, of course, some of you are driving 2 cars to campus every day. Such a bold transformation requires a team that is boundless in its energy and endless in its optimism. There is no doubt that our alumni, donors, and the city are our companions in this transformational journey. During the past decade, they have embraced the University of Houston and have shown their support by increasing their philanthropy from $50 million per year to $138 million per year. Here We Go is a $1 billion campaign we publicly launched in January of this year with $684 million in hand. After adding $96 million to this fund in the last few months, we are now at $780 million mark. Needless to say, we are ahead of our goal, thanks to the generosity of many, but most important, Ms. Catherine G. McGovern, who gave $20 million to name the College of the Arts. Ms. McGovern, our alumna, could not be here today, but let's give her a round of thunderous applause. She's in Houston. Recall, we acknowledged Chairman Fertitta's $20 million gift to name the basketball arena during last year's fall address. We have been fortunate to get many big gifts, but fundamentally, our campaign has been a grassroots campaign. So far, over 160,000 donors have contributed to the goal, and 85% of the donors have given $1,000 or less. Each and every gift is precious because it is a vote of confidence in the direction and potential of the university. I am proud to say that under the leadership of Drs. Tina Reyes and Michael Olivas, our faculty and staff have themselves pledged $1.7 million toward the campaign, which reflects a 32% participation rate. Our strength is our expanding alumni base. Today, we have 160,000 alumni in Houston alone, 189,000 in Texas, and over 274,000 worldwide. You may have noticed when the numbers flipped here that our 160,000 alumni in Houston alone is what a decade ago was the total number of alumni worldwide. It goes without saying that our students now have the largest network right here in Houston, the nation's 4th largest city with one of the fastest growing job markets. The last chapter in this story is the chapter on athletics. Yes, I was not here for the days when Phi Slama Jama was the talk of the nation, or Andre Ware brought the Heisman Trophy to Houston, or when Carl Lewis was decorated with 9 Olympic gold medals. Nonetheless, I am here now and I'm excited to see Coach Burrell's and Carl Lewis's team winning a national championship, or to see Houston Cougars beat a Pac-12 team on the road, or to see the women's golf winning the conference championship in its only 2nd year of existence. It has been a year of championships for the Cougars. From men's outdoor and indoor track and field to women's swimming to men's baseball, each and every victory is worth celebrating. But let me take this opportunity to recognize a team that has won their first championship in 42 years. May I ask the women's swimming team, along with head coach Ryan Vakamurka, to please stand. In every aspect of athletics, from earned revenue to facilities improvement to the fan base, Cougar Athletics has made huge strides. Football attendance and ticket sales are up significantly, and the investment in facilities is up 7,000%. Yes, you cannot see the previous circle on this graph. Because in comparison to $3 million a decade prior, we have invested $230 million during this past decade. And all of this money has been raised from non-estate, non-tuition funds. It does include very generous funding from students to help build TDECU and the Fertitta Center. Oh, winning is good, but student athletes are students before they are athletes. I say with pride that the academic performance of our athletes in terms of graduation rate, grade point average, and persistent rate is higher than ever before in the history of the program. Having completed this book of transformation over the last decade, the question is, where do we go from here? As I listen to you, our students, faculty, staff, alumni, friends, and donors, I feel that you are determined to write an even bigger and bolder sequel to this first book. Going forward, our first and foremost commitment to student success, embedded in our mission and demonstrated through higher graduation rates, must continue without failure. No pauses, no excuses. We have done a lot, but we must do even more because average is never good enough for the University of Houston. Second, the 85th legislature asked us to conduct a study on the need for an additional medical school in Houston. A school that prepares students for primary care, including mental health care in urban and rural communities. We will complete this study and hope to present the findings to the Board of Regents at their next meeting in November. Should the need be determined and the board accepts it, we will begin the formal application process. This initiative will not only fill a void in Houston and in Texas by serving currently unserved communities, but it will also strengthen teaching and research throughout the university, particularly in health-related fields. Third, we remain steadfast in our commitment toward improving the quality of life in our neighborhood, the Third Ward. Kudos to our faculty with more than $10 million worth of research grants are currently focused on community-based research. They are helping the community find solutions to improving health, increasing financial literacy, strengthening public education, and building partnerships in the arts. Finally, I would like for us to build a comprehensive culture of support and care. If we are to move big rocks, if we are to have bolder dreams, and if we are to offer support and care to those we serve, then we need to feel supported and valued ourselves by the institution and by one another. This has been a University of Houston value, but I would like to see a more intentional and assertive attempt to bring it to the forefront in coming years. We should be a campus where support, care, compassion, and accountability go hand in hand. As I reach the end of my presentation, I would be remiss if I did not talk about the first week of 2017 fall semester. A week that started with a once-in-a-100-year solar eclipse and ended with a once-in-a-500-year hurricane. During the week that followed, we saw the worst of desperation and the best of human spirit among Houstonians and among Cougars. Many of our students and staff, like the rest of the city, watched helplessly as their homes and cars flooded. The extent of their trauma was intense, and yet we had to get back on our feet and help the campus and the city to regain their sense of normalcy. And so, the University of Houston decided to fight back. The ride-out team stayed on campus for the duration of the storm, knowing that their own homes and families could be in harm's way. Members of the UH Emergency Management team ignored their personal losses, joined the meetings, and helped me make critical decisions. Staff in the residence and dining halls went above and beyond the call of duty in caring for 2,400 students who chose to stay on campus. First responders risked their own lives and rescued or comforted people around the clock. The communications team remained relentless in its efforts to reach out to people. They used social media, launched informational website, sent multiple emails, and even personally answered every one of more than 1,000 emails that they received from the campus community. As the clouds parted, students organized themselves and marched out to help in shelters, churches, and private homes. The Faculty Senate, under the leadership of Dr. Kathy Horn, launched a Facebook group chat to mobilize faculty to help one another. And within minutes, faculty were offering spare bedrooms, extra cars, childcare, storage places, cleaning laundries, and even boxes and supplies. Drew Fur, an enterprising student, launched another Facebook page inviting students to connect with one another and help out without waiting for an institutional response. Meanwhile, the Student Government Association, under the leadership of Winnie Chang, was instrumental in coordinating supplies of personal items for displaced students from Bayou Oaks and from UH Victoria who were temporarily relocated to campus housing here in Houston. The university also launched new platforms, UH Cares and Cougar Cares. UH Cares under the leadership of Honors College, and Cougars Cares under the leadership of faculty and staff organizations. After learning that public schools would be closed for another week, staff offered childcare and day camps. Basketball coach Calvin Sampson's call to other universities to send shirts and shoes led to UPS delivering 1,000 boxes from all over the nation and Canada, containing 200,000 shirts and 50,000 pairs of shoes. Assisting community recovery efforts, we invited the flooded out Alley Theater to present their productions on campus in our Quintero Theater and provided a temporary home for KHOU Channel 11 in our Houston Public Media offices. Our call for help to alumni raised over $880,000. Their timely generosity helped us assist more than 220 students so they could continue their studies, and the calls for assistance continue to come. The University of Houston was able to resume classes within a week. 2 more weeks into the semester, when the date to withdraw from the university passed, we realized, and that was the time that we realized that we had won the war against Harvey. Our enrollment remained intact, our students were back, our hurricane heroes succeeded in their mission. Many of the heroes who went above and beyond the call of duty are in attendance today. May I ask that anyone who belonged to any of the groups I mentioned, and let's see if you are listening, I would ask you to please stand and be recognized. Thank you. Well, culture is nothing but an aggregate reflection of individually held values. I would like to share with you an email exchange between a student and a faculty member that I feel exemplifies the best of the academy. A student true to her values and a professor true to hers. Shortly after Harvey hit Houston, a student emails her professor, "I still do not have power at my house, and the bayou is right at my first floor. I don't know what I can do about my assignments that will be due September 5th, because there is no saying when power will return. P.S. If there's any way possible for you to get a hold of anyone that can help, please let me know." The professor responds, "I just called 911. They do not take third-party calls. They said you must call. I called the fire department, but they said the same thing. I will just stay in touch via email to determine if you have been rescued." A short email from the student. "Thank you so much. It is so considerate of you." 9 minutes later, the professor writes again, "Just call the Coast Guard. They said put a white sheet in your window or white towel. Call them at 202-372-2100. Go on roof, not in the attic. Give a specific address." 5 minutes later, the professor writes again and says, "I contacted the Coast Guard again. Call any of the 5 numbers below and email them and do exactly as they say. Good luck." A few tense hours later, the message of relief finally comes. "Thank you, Professor. We called the Coast Guard and got rescued by boat. We are safe now." Final message from the professor. "I am so relieved. You stay safe and don't be concerned about your graded assignments. They have all been postponed. Of the utmost importance is that you are out of harm's way. Please let me know if I can assist you further." I asked the student in this exchange, Amana Waheed, and her professor, Dr. Polly Hardy from Economics Department, to join us today. Will you please stand? This is the spirit and the character of the University of Houston. The numbers are good, they tell a story. The real story is human. So let's celebrate our past successes. Let's make even bigger and bolder dreams, but let's never forget that plans and programs do not bring transformation. People do. It will be up to us, each one of us, and together, to launch the next great decade for the University of Houston. We have done it, we can do it, and we will do it. Thank you, and go Cougs.
Gotta have a cougar, gotta have a cougar, gotta have a cougar, gotta have a
and good old Port Moxie.
So we dusted off our boots, put our cowboy hats on straight. You say y'all all want a two-step, you say you want a do-si-do. Well, here's your fiddling song before we go. Here's a Houston Cougar song before we go.
Play it on the fiddle.
Play it on the fiddle, play it on the fiddle. If you're gonna play in Houston, you gotta have a cougar in the band. That lead guitarist hopping off a Louisiana man.
So rousing up that over-faded love and let's all dance.
If you're gonna play in Houston,
You gotta have a cougar.